All right, so I got an email from somebody recently, and he asked a question that I thought was interesting. He just had one question. It was like, how do you actually use licks? I'm assuming he's talking about guitar licks. But if we're talking about guitar licks and how do you use them, first of all, I thought that was a strange question. Like, what do you mean, how do you use them? You just play them, you know what key the song's in and you play it. But he wasn't asking how to play it. I think he knows how to play it. He's asking how to use it, and there's a difference. So the more I kind of thought about that, I thought, that's a good question. And there's actually a formula that you can use. I want to share that in this video. So if you've ever kind of wrestled with that, trying to understand how to improvise, how to use all this material we're getting, this would be a good video for you to be able to follow along. So there's going to be we're going to have some parameters that we have to work within here in this video just to make it simple. And the first parameter is we're going to be playing within the key of the song. So that means we're not going to be trying to follow the chord changes. That's a whole different beast, and I'll do another video on that down the road. But this is just playing in the key of the song. So if it's a song in the key of A, you stay in the A major or minor pentatonic scale. And that's the second parameter, is we're going to be using just the major and minor pentatonic scale. And I've found that you can play just about anything. You can be as expressive as you want with those two scales. And if you've never learned how to do this, and don't start with the major scale. That's too many variables. There's 7 notes as opposed to the 5 within the major or minor pentatonic scale. And that's just a system that's worked for me, and I think it's worked for a lot of you. So that's what we're going to be dealing with. Playing in the key of the song, and we're going to be using the major and the minor pentatonic scale. Now, if you don't know what the major or minor pentatonic scales are, you can check out a lesson I did fairly recently, which was EP 380. And I go through the triangle and the square, those two shapes, and I show you how to play the minor pentatonic scale and then move everything down 3 frets to get the major pentatonic scale. Very cool lesson, very simple way of looking at those scales. So I'll assume that we're all on the same page and we know what the minor and major pentatonic scales are. And we're also going to be playing within the key. So here's the big question you have to ask yourself to start this. It's kind of like this is like an if-then statement. If X, then Y kind of thing. But the first question you have to ask yourself is the song major or is it minor? Is it a major key or minor key? Because that's going to determine a few things. If it's a minor key, then that means you can only use the minor pentatonic scale. And if you don't know if it's a major or a minor key, or if you don't know if it's a minor key, if the song starts with a minor chord, there's a good chance it's a minor key song. Not always, but there's directionally speaking, that would be a good assumption, a safe assumption. So a song like I Shot the Sheriff or Thrill Is Gone, these are minor key songs. So you can really only, if we're talking just the pentatonics, you can only use the minor pentatonic scale. The second you go into the major pentatonic scale, it sounds weird. So let me give you an example of this. I'm going to play along with a jam track. This is in E minor. So the chords would be E minor, A minor, B7. Not that that matters. It doesn't matter what the chords are because we're going to be playing in the key of the song. We're just going to be playing the E minor pentatonic scale. So here we go. And I'm going to use one lick over and over again just to demonstrate. There's your lick, right? Now it's gone to the A minor. Use that same lick over and over again. Here's the B. So now here's the cool thing is I can land on any of those notes in that minor pentatonic scale. These notes. Right? So watch this. I'll land on that note instead, just randomly. Walk up the scale. See, over every chord it works. Here's the B. And then we'll go back to the E minor. And so that's interesting to me that no matter which note, I'll land on that note, right? Doesn't matter. And so I'm just kind of making it up as I go along there. And that's what I love about the minor pentatonic scale is how simple it is and elegant. I can play it multiple octaves and I can be very expressive with it. And so even though some notes sound better to land on, and when I say land on a note, that last note there, that's the one I landed on. I played a bunch of stuff and then I ended on something. You have to end it on something. Your lick has to end on something, right? Well, some notes are going to sound better but all of them are going to work. So, and that's where it's like, a lot of people start wondering, well, which one do you land on? Let your ear tell you. That's the best advice I can give you, is your ear will dictate. It'll tell you, it'll pull your fingers to where they need to go. So that's how the minor pentatonic scale works over a minor key song. And remember, if it's a minor key song, you can only use that minor pentatonic scale. Now, if the song is in a major key, so same thing, but it was like E major, A major, B major, then you have three options. You can play either the minor pentatonic scale that we just played, or the major pentatonic scale, which is the same thing. You just slide everything down 3 frets. Or you can blend the minor and major into this sort of hybrid scale. That's one way to think of it anyway. So you have multiple options when a song is in a major key. And actually, if you want to know more about blending the minor and major, I did a lesson on that, which was EP 130. I did a long time ago, but I talked about combining those two scales. So let me play along with a jam track that's in E major. And I want to demonstrate how I can go between the minor pentatonic scale, the major pentatonic scale, or blend them. And it doesn't matter when I do that. So hear that out, because that's a question I get all the time. It doesn't matter when. Some people that say, well, wait, over the 4 chord, is that when you go to the minor? It doesn't matter. I could stay in the minor pentatonic scale for the whole solo, and that would be totally fine. I could stay in the major pentatonic for the whole solo, and that would be fine. It's just going to have a different vibe. It'll different feel. Or I could blend the two for the whole solo. So here it is. Here's a very simple jam track in E. I'm going to start off in the minor pentatonic, using that same lick I did before. So you can see it's got a real bluesy sound if I stayed in the minor pentatonic. Let's go down 3 frets. Right? I'm just in that same little triangle. It's that simple. So these are all just licks. Now I'm going to switch back to minor. You can hear how it got bluesier. And it's just the dial. I turned it up or down, however I want. Now I can combine the two. You can hear how that even sounds different. It sounds a little more sophisticated. So that's just a little improvising there, showing you how that works. And you can hear the difference between that happy major sound, major pentatonic, the sad bluesy minor pentatonic, and then that kind of more sophisticated, maybe even more of a jazzy feel when you get into blending the two. But there is no formula for when you do it. That's the beauty of it. And so don't get so scientific about it to think that you only can do one here or do another there. You can do them whenever you want. So that's really the formula. The first question is the song major or minor? If it's minor, you can only play the minor pentatonic scale. If it's a major key, then you can play the minor pentatonic scale, the major pentatonic scale, or you can blend the two. It's that simple, and you can do it whenever you want. You don't have to worry about the chords. That's the beauty of playing in the key. Just express yourself through those simple 5 notes. Let me just do one other thing. I'm going to take that same jam track, that one we just played, the major one, and then this time I'm going to show you playing the chord changes. This is just going to make something up here. But I want you to hear the difference between staying in the key of a song versus playing the changes. So we got... So now for the A, I'm playing over the A. Back to the E for the E. There's the B, so I'm playing over the B. Back to the E. Now what's cool is I can just go back into playing in the key here if I want. So it sounds a little more sophisticated maybe, but it's a lot more difficult because I'm having to listen to the chords. I know that I'm over the A now, so I need to work in some arpeggio notes and pull those chord tones out. And that's something that you get down the road, but there are many, many great guitar players that have never gone there. A lot of the old blues guys never did playing the chord changes. They stayed in the key of a song. I'm thinking like Hubert Sumlin or Lightnin' Hopkins or some of the old guys. They would just play more expressively by playing in the key. And what's nice also about playing over the chord changes, even without a jam track, so even just by playing the lead like that, you can start to hear the chords underneath it because I'm kind of tracing around those notes that live within the chords. So really that's how it all works, at least when you're dealing with the pentatonics. And hopefully this has given you some confidence to get out there and start trying that stuff. Don't worry about which note the chord is on and all of that. Just play the notes in the scale. And over time, your ear will start to tell you which notes you need to land on or which notes you need to highlight. But that only comes from doing. It also comes from listening, but mostly doing, just doing and, developing your own style. So hopefully that's helped answer that question of how do I use these licks that I've learned?